All right, crypto market update. Looks like we have a little bit of a sell off happening on Bitcoin. Here's what I'm kind of wondering and seeing if this will play out. If we end up with a breakdown, because it certainly kind of looks a little bit bear pennant like. So looking to see if we get that breakdown below, down to the 3K level or lower, or if we end up producing something similar to this, right? Like if we kind of zoom in here a little bit, we could see a very similar. So I'm just watching, and I'm not really reacting to this movement here. I'm kind of just staying the course with my long-term investment accumulation strategy right now. I'm very single focused on that strategy, right? The lower we go, the more I focus on that strategy. And actually I saw something interesting, something interesting that, and as far as market sentiment is concerned and all that, so like obviously, yeah, it's a rough ride. We're in a bear trend, things are selling off, prices are low. This week's terminology, market sentiment term of the week is death spiral, right? And Vince saying lots of whining today in my groups. Yeah, actually, that's another thing I want to point out. I gotta say that I think obviously maybe I have some bias in relation to that, but I gotta say that I think we have one of the best groups in crypto. Generally, like when I look at the live trading, when prices go lower, I see people like excited and accumulating and waiting for stink bids to fill and stuff like that. And then like I go on crypto Twitter or just like look other places, and it's just like despair and like all the market sentiment stuff. So I gotta say I'm really proud of everyone in the group, and I have to say I look at Twitter as far as market sentiment, but it's refreshing to look at a group of people being productive and thinking of the bigger picture, and basically just wanting to get cheap crypto, right? Just focusing on being like counter, like trading against the herd, trading against market sentiment, right? Which is not easy, right? It's not necessarily an easy path when everyone around you. This is like the exact polar opposite. Like I said many times, this is exact polar opposite of what we saw last December. I mean, just scroll back through the tweets or whatever of last December and see just how euphoric and bullish and just everything was, all of that stuff, right? So, can the price go lower? It can. Can we end up in a multi, like a 1 year accumulation period like 2015? It's certainly possible, right? It's certainly possible. These things are possible. We don't know. Nobody knows really. It's also possible, we roll into 2019 and end up with a really epic reversal, moving into the launch of futures. And then all of a sudden, like, we'll be looking back at the price action and market sentiment, and it'll be another historical moment, right? Is my sound good for everyone? All right. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? If we did end up in like a year long, like let's just go back here on the charts, right? If we did end up with something like this into 2019, then not the best trading conditions in my opinion. I remember, I don't know if anybody remembers what it was like trading in 2015. I remember like we were literally fighting for 15% table scraps. Like the market was so stable and choppy. Like aside from these big capitulation wicks, like this was the biggest action of 2015. There was a really nice Litecoin pump that happened in 2015. That was some good action. I remember trading that. These two capitulations was some good action, but there was just a lot of chop, and literally, you weren't banging out triples or anything like that. You were literally scraping by just to get 10-15% moves. And I remember like we'd have trade alerts and celebrate like a 15% gain, which is ridiculous. So in my opinion, obviously you gotta trade and adapt to the market cycles and the market conditions, just like weather, right? When it's a snowy day, you need to dress for winter and for snow. If you make the best of winter and you try to find outdoor winter activities like cross-country skiing or whatever, then you can learn to enjoy it, right? You can make the best of it. If you don't and you just hate it, then you can also make the best of it by maybe taking a vacation and going somewhere hot on a beach. Or a combination of A and B. And the same thing goes for the crypto markets and the market cycles in general, right? That we have to adapt to the market that is right in front of us and try to apply the best strategy and the best tool for the job. Now, obviously, as far as trading is concerned, 2015 was a very crappy year for trading. However, it was literally the best year for accumulation and for investing, right? That's so obviously a different tool had to be used for that time, right? So the on the positive note, the good news is that I actually enjoyed 2015. The reason why I enjoyed 2015 is because I had missed out on this huge parabolic run, right? Like I was looking at Bitcoin at 2012 and stuff, and I took a couple stabs in 2013, but I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't really put in the time or effort to figure it out. But in 2014, I remember coming in with the rush of noobs in 2014, and I just remember that when the prices were actually this low, when the prices actually capitulated, while everyone was very distraught about that, I was kind of excited about it, and I felt it was a blessing to have 11 months of sideways at these lows. And the reason why I felt it was a blessing is because I decided that at the time I needed to focus all my time and energy, and I quit doing other things, and I just focused exclusively 100% of my energy on crypto. This is where I was putting in the 14-hour days on crypto. Like I said before, I was trying to make as much Bitcoin as I could, because I obviously nobody knows where it's gonna go, but I believed in the vision. I felt that it was just not a matter of if but when it would break all-time highs, and so I felt like it was a real blessing that I had 11 months of time to do everything I could to accumulate Bitcoin at those lower prices. And I didn't have a lot of money, and I wasn't making a lot of money, right? But Bitcoin was cheap. It was $200. So all the money I was getting paid was in Bitcoin, whether I was getting paid to write blogs or blog, or whether I was making money trading or anything like that. It was cheap, right? Bitcoin was cheap. And then it did 100x multiple. So anything I managed to save, obviously I still had to sell some, getting paid exclusively in Bitcoin, making money exclusively in Bitcoin. I still obviously had to sell Bitcoin to pay for bills and stuff, right? Life expenses. I lived very frugally to keep my expenses as low as possible, right? But it was well worth it. It was well worth the journey and the time. So you always got to try to look at any situation and try to find the value and the positive of it, right? Now, I know that market sentiment's really low, and people in general on social media are really down and out. But if anybody is completely new to crypto, and we did end up with an extended accumulation period on crypto, it can really be a blessing in my opinion, right? Obviously, again, I always have to say that there's no guarantees in the markets and so on and so forth. But the way I see it, as far as the bigger picture is concerned, as far as the fundamentals are concerned, I just really base the fundamentals on crypto versus on a supply demand dynamic and market saturation, user adoption, and yeah, no, it's true. Menno's saying I went on 11 BTC. Yeah, I cashed out some Bitcoin here to go to a wedding in Mexico. It's like 10 Bitcoin or something. Good times when you think of how expensive that trip was, right? But you know what? That's the nature of the game, right? When you're in the crypto hustle and you get all your money is in crypto exclusively, that's just the nature of it. So I can't necessarily cry over that and cry over the couple 100,000 that 10 BTC would have been at the highs and blah blah. Because I just got to be happy that I managed to save Bitcoin that year, and that it's been a great few years, right? It's been a great market cycle, right? A nice journey. I've learned a lot in this journey, in this market cycle, and we're continuing a market cycle. And even though the markets are in despair and they could go lower, and maybe we end up with chop and all that stuff, I gotta try to think of the most bearish kind of type scenario here. Ultimately, as someone who actually likes crypto and has spent many years just focusing exclusively on crypto, I actually think it's a good thing to have lower prices. I like it. I like being able to accumulate again. I like being able to invest again, to be able to hold stuff, to be able to start siphoning money off the exchanges, right? To be a crypto enthusiast again, right? I wasn't feeling very enthusiastic. I kind of had it a hate on for crypto in December. I needed a break. I was feeling a bit burnt out. Everything was going too high, too parabolic. The greed was just too extreme. And eventually when you're just kind of sitting and waiting in cash, you just kind of get sick of it, right? you just get sick of it. You get sick of the euphoria and all that stuff. And last December, I was actually quite sick of it and just kind of sitting in cash. And like I said before, it's a bit of a existential crisis when you're a crypto enthusiast and you're used to holding your own crypto and your own private keys and trading to accumulate Bitcoin and all that stuff. And then you just see things just so ridiculous and you see the writing on the wall, and then you're like, okay, well, what do I do with this? Okay, well, there was a lot of Tether FUD. My Bittrex account was in Tether. There was, I spread it out on multiple exchanges, pulled out money in the banks and so on and so forth. And I had a trade from here, a nice, actually I had a couple trades on the table here. There was this breakout trade, and then there was this dip buy right here, and then I had completely closed out of that trade at around 10K, and it pretty much doubled on me. Now around December, when we were right before the new year, I did siphon off some of the longer term holdings. But I also had to kind of make the decision, ask myself, do I want to sell all my crypto, or do I want to make sure that I always have some Bitcoin? And then so I decided on an amount of Bitcoin that I just want to make sure I always had, that I kept long term, and that I would just hold and weather the storm as a longer term investment. So, I kind of have the trader, I do trading, but I'm also an investor too. So all that to say, now that the prices are lower, now that the prices keep breaking down, going lower, so on and so forth, whether we bounce, whether we go lower, my mindset is just going more into the long game again, right? Having learned that the biggest Grand Slam strategy that I've learned in this market cycle was being able, if one could accumulate good quality projects in the lows and hold for a 50 to 100x, or in some cases like Ripple or whatnot, even higher, then that seemed to be the most profitable strategy. So it's almost, one could almost say that's like a hybrid approach between an investor, and I would say that's kind of like an investment strategy with the trader's instinct, right? The reason why I say trader's instinct is because there's a lot of OGs who hodled. There's a lot of crypto OGs who have hodled for many years, so on and so forth. But they don't necessarily, there's a lot of them who have hodled all of it through the drawdown too. They didn't take heavy profit necessarily on the 100x or so on and so forth, right? And so I think that if one can recognize the market cycles, if one has experienced a parabolic market, everything going parabolic, going straight up vertical, then that's where the trader instinct has to come in. And that's where one needs to sell anything that they bought, or not all of it, obviously, but at least a good chunk of anything they bought in the lows into strength and take that hard money off of the table, right? So that's pretty much, in my opinion, where a hybrid approach would serve one well. And there might be like milestones along the way, certain price points along the way. It's always good to siphon a little bit. Yeah, parabolic basically just means, yeah, exactly, selling, right? When it's vertical, you sell, and like, will you nail the exact top? Maybe, maybe not. In this case, as far as like price predictions, I didn't really nail the top as far as a price prediction's concerned. As soon as I saw a 5-digit Bitcoin, I knew that was a big milestone. But as far as time prediction, definitely nailed that. To me, it just seemed pretty obvious that CME futures would be the top. What kind of threw me off a little bit was CBOE deciding to launch a week before CME. It's kind of like, and that was like another local top because it did have a sell-off on that launch as well, right? But I didn't leave a runner to 20K. I mean, I had some alt, I sold some Doge at like 94 Satoshis, and XLM I think was probably like my biggest alt play. Stellar. I think I bought some at like 20 cents, and I had like probably a good 50% of the position on the table, and literally almost sold it at the top. I think I sold it at like 80 cents or something like that. I think that was probably like my best, and I went in pretty heavy on Doge too. So those are my probably like my best trades in those highs. Let's see, those were my best trades in those highs because it went up to 91 cents, and I sold. I saw it crashing, and I sold at 80 cents. I remember buying it when it was. Buying some in accumulation at like 2 cents when it looked pretty dead, right? I think it might have popped. Actually, no, I bought it here and I took a little off the table on the pop, right? I took a little off the table on the pop, and then I just held the rest and literally somehow managed to hold it all throughout this parabolic run, and was like, okay, cash out, and then some stuff I sold too early, obviously, but that's the nature of the game. It was kind of like a funny meme how people are saying, oh, up in USD, down in BTC type of thing. All right, so Ninjutsu's got a chart for me. It's asking me to check it out. It's to measure the accumulation profits of 2015 out this side if I sacrifice my trading capital. And yeah, and the thing is, like, ultimately, like our main goal with all of this, our main goal in what we're doing is we just want people to come up with strategies and a plan that's best for them in their situation. So you're talking about like these spikes and rises. Yeah, this is like a cool frosty blue chart. Yeah, there was some winter theme. Winter's coming. Icy blue. It's like a Gatorade drink or something. Anyways, yeah, there was some volatility. There definitely was some volatility in 2015. And there definitely were some trades. I mean, we were trading. But it wasn't the best trading. It wasn't like we weren't popping off. The only time that we'd see doubles were on these capitulation wicks here. You know, just wondering if you can share thoughts on that versus investments. Well, I mean, one could do a hybrid approach of some trading and to me, like any trading I was doing in 2015 was kind of trading just to get more Bitcoin, just to keep adding to my longer term Bitcoin investments. So I was feeling pretty bullish on Bitcoin. So in my world, I just want to try to get as much Bitcoin as I could, before things went nuts. And so if that was through trading, I was doing a lot of Ripple arbitrage too. Used to be able to trade directly on the Ripple network back then, so and so forth. That shut down, I think. I think they used to have like Ripple Trade. Cryptsy was a thing. Then they got hacked. Dodged a couple bullets. There was like a bunch of big hacks that year. There was MintPal or some crap, some exchange. I never traded on it. Then there was there was the Cryptsy hack, and I dodged a bullet from that. There's all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of. I'm really greedy and would love to just go all in and have the powder average down on my higher alt buys and have minimal. Well, I mean, greed can sometimes be a good thing, but greed can also, let's just say that I was feeling pretty greedy. It's still a marathon, right? Even accumulation is still a marathon. Let's just say that my biggest mistake of 2018 was feeling really, really greedy on Tezos here, right? And actually buying a lot, right? So this is like probably one of the biggest drawdowns I've ever seen, like I've ever had on crypto. But I'm not done. I've decided that I'm sticking to my guns to accumulate and with these lower prices, because in my world, like if I was feeling pretty greedy and excited about it above $1, then I should feel even more excited to see it lower. Even so, this is where it's in the longer term game. From the get-go, I've decided it was a longer term investment. There's not enough obviously trading action here for like specific trades. So I'm just kind of sticking with my plan, and obviously I'm buying a lot more Tezos than I originally intended, right? With the prices going lower. But I find it challenging. One of my biggest challenges with altcoins in general, as far as like investments are concerned, is I actually find it challenging to find altcoin altcoin projects that I actually like, right? And that might sound strange because there's a lot of altcoins out there, and I'll trade altcoins. Like I'll trade almost any altcoin, but usually when I trade an altcoin, it's just quick flips. I'm usually not doing like, oh, I'm gonna seriously accumulate this altcoin with a sizable chunk of my capital for crypto, designated for crypto. I haven't, I've never really, I don't really find a lot of altcoins that I really speak to me in that way, and I'll tell you why, right? A lot of the larger cap coins are kind of pumped up table scraps, so we talked about that, right? When you trade Ripple at a fraction of a penny, there's no way in hell that I'm going to accumulate, sizable positions at 34 cents. It's just not going to happen. Not for me. Or same with Ethereum, trading Ethereum at $1. I remember shorting Ethereum when it was $2 when it hit Poloniex, right? It's not for me. Even accumulating Bitcoin, I still have my longer term Bitcoin stash and I'll trade to get more Bitcoin, but I haven't really been adding a ton of Bitcoin to my longer stash because I just have a hard time wrapping my head around still accumulating $3,000 Bitcoin, and I'll buy it and trade it and average down and so on and so forth. EOS, I don't like the project. I just straight up don't like the project. You know my reasons why I don't like it. I've talked about that many times. It's no secret I don't like Bcash. I don't like the players involved in that project and so on and so forth and what they bring to the table. Monero, just kind of, it's good. I like the coin, but kind of seems still, I was trading, I saw when it was at $1, right? So can't really seriously consider accumulating something that I once saw and traded at $1 at $54, right? ETC, I still have a little bit of longer term ETC that I bought at 80 cents, 90 cents or whatever. Neo, I hear, has got centralization issues similar to EOS, where there's only like a handful of nodes running it. Cardano's pretty interesting. Cardano is an interesting project. I hear that they don't have a lot of the features that yet. They're still in development for a lot of features, and that there's not a ton of nodes and such. I haven't really been accumulating. I mean, I have a bit of Cardano that I bought higher up. Zcash, everyone knows why I like Zcash. And then if we go like Dogecoin, I find Doge is just good for quick trades. There might be some, Waves. I did the ICO. Lisk, I did the ICO, but there's just no way. Like the ICO is like 30 cents. There's just no way I want to accumulate at $2. 0x, I do have some as a longer term investment. It's not my largest longer term investment. I think it's a cool project. I like it. It's not my largest holdings because it's still like considerably higher than the ICO price. Decree's a nice project. I think Decree's pretty solid. But again, I was watching that trade for like $1, beginning of 2017, right? So to me, like also price is a huge thing. Price and price discovery, and trying to be an early adopter and getting something at the lowest prices possible compared to like other projects. And then here's the thing. Now if we go into smaller caps, I know there's a lot of crypto investors, popular crypto investors, OGs that really love their micro caps. I mean, they'll go doing some serious dumpster diving on page 10 of CoinMarketCap. They're buying stuff at under $1 million market cap. They're buying stuff at, $10 million market cap. And I get the strategy. I definitely get the strategy. The strategy is the lower you can buy something in market cap, the more upside growth it has, right? So that is a solid strategy, but those aren't the kind of plays, in my opinion, those aren't the kind of plays where I can actually put serious capital into them. I can sprinkle a little bit of capital. I can put in like some pocket change into it. And if pocket change goes up 10,000% or 40,000% or whatever, then pocket change turns into, a nice payout, some nice pay dirt. But the thing is that they're not very, very liquid, right? They're not extremely liquid, so it's harder to actually like accumulate them. And I almost view those plays as a serious all or nothing play. As in, you could buy a medley of microcaps, but it's if they survive, they're either going to really hit it big where you get the big percentage payouts, or they're just going to die. And I've tested out the microcap strategy last year, and I probably picked about 10 of them. One of them, which was Spectre Coin, did go up 40,000% and completely offset any of the other ones. I think like out of those 10, probably like 7 of them died, or like the projects got abandoned or whatever. Now the thing with the expect payout that I had, the irony is I was like, wow, I think I had only put in just like a few $1,000s, and next thing you know is worth like $80K US. But the problem is the exchange that I bought it on, I even forget the name of the exchange, they delisted it. And then they were away on holidays. And I didn't even have my I didn't even have my coins. It didn't even show that I had the coins. Showed a history of me buying them, but didn't even show that I even had the coins. So there was like an 80K opportunity cost that, and that's another risk. You get delisted, so on and so forth, right? So there's so many different variables and risks and stuff, and so that kind of thing can happen too, right? Things can get delisted on those microcaps, but there's another risk I want to show you. It's the risk of 51% attacks. So there's a lot of people that are really hot on proof of work, like microcap proof of work coins, predominantly because they have a small predominantly because they have like a smaller GPU rigs or mining rigs, and you can make a lot of money if you mine all the early blocks on a new coin. So that's a strategy too if you're a miner and you really pay attention to, let's say, new announcement threads on Bitcoin Talk, and then you start mining coins and getting all the big blocks and basically kind of being a whale for proof of work coins. There's a lot of upside. That's a way to accumulate too. That's probably like a better way to get returns strategically than, let's say, just mining Ethereum or something with GPU rigs or Zcash or whatever, that there's a lot of competition, it's more expensive, and so on and so forth. So like for smaller miners, that's kind of the way to do it, in my opinion. But those small microcap, small cap proof of work coins, they're all susceptible to 51% attacks with pocket change. Like literally, you could attack those networks with like under $1,000. And there's an attack on Vertcoin right now. So here's the latest one, Vertcoin. So I think they've had like 100 blocks reorged and stuff. And so this is a small cap coin, right? This is a small cap coin. The volume's not that great. One could say, oh, maybe I want to accumulate this. Look, it's cheap. It's only a 14 million market cap. If it pops off, it'll go higher and this and that, right? But if it gets 51% attacked, then on a fundamental note, is that really good for the project? Like, does that speak of longevity for the project, or is that something that one? And so these are serious risks as far as smaller cap proof of work coins are concerned, right? Is 51% attack, right? Bitcoin isn't getting 51% attack because it's extremely excruciatingly expensive to be able to pull that off. And most of the people who are doing these 51% attacks, they're renting hash power on a site called NiceHash. If you ever wanted to get into like quote unquote cloud mining, don't go with like these cloud mining services where you just pay the money, because most of those are Ponzi schemes. There are sites. Let's just look up NiceHash here. NiceHash. Where you could literally, it's like a marketplace for buying and selling hashing power. So you're literally, you can mine whatever bloody coins you want. So if you wanted to mine some kind of obscure proof of work coin, or if someone is 51% attacking, I don't recommend going out and attacking networks. It's not very nice, and might be illegal too. You always got to have like some ethical boundaries in what you do, but people are out there doing that, and they're 51% attacking some of these smaller coins for pocket change, like renting hashing power for like $1,000 and attacking these coins and stuff, right? So those aren't very secure and good on a fundamental note, in my opinion. And then you could have these smaller cap ICO coins. So what's the other option? You can go into small caps that did ICOs, but now we have all this risk of the SEC labeling everything as securities, right? And, smaller coins that didn't raise as much money aren't as big. Usually if a project comes out and they did an ICO and they didn't raise a ton, they end up in the small cap category. They don't have the war chests to be able to defend themselves, or so on and so forth, if and they're kind of like low-hanging fruit. So there's a serious risk there with ICO small cap tokens. Plus, here's the thing. If they don't produce a lot of volume and liquidity on exchanges, they have a higher risk of getting delisted. We saw Cryptopia have a mass delisting a few months ago. I think it was a month ago or a few months ago. I can't quite remember. And yeah, we basically saw like a mass apocalypse for a bunch of small cap coins on Cryptopia. And you know it's pretty bad if you get delisted from Cryptopia, which is literally the bottom of the barrel for small caps. Like that's the place coins go when they can't get listed anywhere else. So mass delisting there. So there's serious risk. So yes, you can certainly make good percentages if you pick the right small cap market. But in my opinion, one has to use very small position size, right? It's almost like if you put money in it, consider it almost like an all or nothing bet, in my opinion, right? And I know some people have made really good bank with the small caps. So I'm not knocking it, I'm not knocking I'm not knocking that strategy at all. I respect the strategy. I respect any strategy that makes a lot of money. You know, any strategy that works, it has my respect. But as far as like serious accumulation, in my opinion, and obviously I can only pick a couple of projects to go heavy and seriously accumulate, predominantly because I don't have limitless supply of money. You know, if I was like a big financial institution or whatever, if I had, billions of dollars at my disposal, then yes, obviously I could pick a whole bunch of them. But, so I just had to kind of pick a couple projects that are big enough, liquid enough, that they have a higher probability of surviving to the next cycle, a good enough value proposition, innovative enough value proposition, trend-setting projects, and also cheap enough. Haven't had multiple pump cycles. That's my logic and my hypothesis for the picks that I've made. But that doesn't mean that there's other picks that I've overlooked. There could be other coins that maybe some of you are accumulating, or some tokens or whatever that I've overlooked that haven't quite hit my radar, that might be really, really solid projects, maybe even with smaller market caps. Right, so that's certainly possible. Now, speaking of XTZ, yeah, so it's definitely on this bear channel, right? We do have a very clear bear channel, increase in selling volume here. Like I said before, right now that on the fundamentals, as far as supply and demand dynamics, what we have right now is we have a lot of people baking, getting passive returns, but not a lot of the ecosystem hasn't grown yet. So there hasn't been a ton of, aside from people who are investing and accumulating, as far as the supply and demand dynamic, there's not a lot on the fundamental scale yet for demand on XTZ. The reason for that is because there's not a lot of decentralized applications or any of that stuff, right? When you have those things in place, like in Ethereum, and you have more apps and you have ICOs and you have all this stuff where security tokens, and this all puts demand, right? This all puts buying demand, and does it feel similar to ETH back in the early days? Yeah, for me it does. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna play out like ETH did, but I was around in ETH, and I have a similar feeling to Tezos as I did with ETH when ETH first came out. Like I had a feeling ETH would be a winner in 2015. I knew it would be a major player in 2015. It was new, it was innovative, so on and so forth. So just kind of like looking back memory lane, and 2015 for ETH, and it was difficult. It was difficult for people to like accumulate and stuff because they didn't even have a GUI on their wallet, right? There's actually more stuff going for Tezos right now than ETH had back in those days, because pretty much like the only people who are able to get in on the action on ETH is you had to kind of had to be a developer or just keep all your money on exchange, because it's all just terminal, and like you look at Ethereum, and it had a big bear channel too when it first got listed, right? it just kind of sold off, and just kind of, and then eventually popped and it consolidated, and it was like a long period of consolidation. One could say it created like this large ascending triangle. That was kind of like the first stage, but it was still like in a longer accumulation period. And you can see, when it first listed and then dropped, like the thing dropped 82% in this sell-off, right? But nowadays, if anybody looks at Ethereum at $2, now obviously you don't want to try to buy tops or whatever. You don't want to buy into big green spikes or whatnot. And, in hindsight, when Tezos was first listed on the exchanges, most coins sell off after the first listing. They usually have a big sell off, right? So in hindsight, I wouldn't change buying any above $1. I wouldn't change that, but I would change how much I bought above $1. I got a little too aggressive with how much I bought above $1, right? But I'm still sticking with my plan. I'm buying more, and obviously if it fails and my strategy fails and my accumulation on this fails, and if the project fails, all that stuff, then that's definitely going to be a very big loss for me, right? So I am risking a lot on this play, but it's not risk that I haven't, this is crypto. There's always been that kind of risk on the table in crypto. When I was working all my energy in 2015, would the loss change my life? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would definitely be a big chunk taken out of my net worth for sure, definitely. But it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change me. So I'm still only investing what I can afford to lose. Right? So that's the key. That's a very good distinction, Bill. That's the key. I'm not mortgaging stuff to buy it, or going into debt, or anything like that. I'm still diversified, and so on and so forth, right? Would I buy an XTZ breakout? Yeah, I mean, if we had a nice breakout on the bear channel or whatever, I'd probably add to my positions. I'm saving now. I'm really kind of battening down the hatches and being kind of conservative. I do have some stink bids on XTZ all the way down to pennies if we had a flash crash or anything like that. But as far as dropping in another serious chunk of cash, I'm just being a little bit more patient now. Obviously, I gotta pace myself, because if it did drop to 20 cents or something really low, then I have I'm gonna double my position size on XTZ. Not dollar wise double my position size, but double the amount of XTZ that I own, which is not necessarily something I originally planned to do, and I don't necessarily recommend this as a very sane approach to risk management or anything like that. This is just what I'm doing for my own risk appetite. But if I got to park a bunch of money in crypto, the way I see it is I might as well park a bunch of money in a very new project as an early adopter that's a growing ecosystem that self-accumulates, that gives passive XTZ returns. So obviously the more I buy, the more XTZ I'm going to get in those payouts for baking, right? And so I'm kind of thinking bigger picture. I'm out thinking the next halving, 2020, 2021. And, even though I'm weathering a storm right now on it, my mind is projecting out into the future. And obviously that's what investors do, right? You have a hypothesis, you put money where your mouth is on your hypothesis, and then you have projected targets and possible growth into the future and what you want to see happen into the future, right? That doesn't mean that it's not going to have its growing pains, because we all know Ethereum sure as hell had its growing pains, right? It's still very experimental tech. We've never had a self-amending ledger before, where you can change things on the protocol level based on community consensus and voting. But that's actually one of the things I find so exciting, is that it is so innovative and new, right? It is breaking grounds on something different. That's what I find very interesting about the project, right? So if I'm gonna accumulate something heavy, for me, I have to accumulate something that I feel is actually offering some real innovation in the space. And we haven't seen a lot of the XTZ clone coins yet. That usually comes with the bull run, right? We didn't have a lot of Ethereum clone coins either. But as soon as Ethereum went bullish on its full bull run, first bull run, this was the first one, and we traded it. Very exciting times. This was like the hottest market of 2016 was Ethereum. Then we start to see a lot of ETH clones, right? We start to see a lot of clones coming out, right? There was Expanse and this Ethereum and that, and everybody was like, it was like the new hot flavor. Everyone wanted to be the new. Everyone wanted to be the new Ethereum, and they all want to ride the coattails of Ethereum, right? And actually, as far as like Expanse is concerned, I actually remember trading this. This was like one of my craziest trades of 2016. This is just nuts. It was Expanse, and it was Expanse, and I remember I didn't even know what this coin was, and I started seeing it ramping up on Poloniex, and I bought it here, and then literally like within hours, this freaking coin went up like thousands of percent, and I imagine I didn't sell the top, but I managed to make good bank, and that certainly increased my Bitcoins for the day, and that was actually one of my best trades of 2016. I remember that. That was a great trade. The market just went up so damn fast, and it was all based on that ETH hype, right? It was so hyped up on ETH. Everyone's like, oh, it's the next Ethereum, right? And it was just a pump and dump, right? And I just managed to get in early and get out before it did a full retrace. But that was that, and obviously trading Ethereum were like my best for 2016. Those were like the best things that happened in 2016. So someone's saying XTZ was cliff highs, mystery coin. He predicted it would dump like crazy before going to the moon. Let's see if he's right. Well, I'll tell you one thing about Tezos. Tezos has not had a single market cycle yet. It hasn't had one. Not one. One could say, oh, but look at HitBTC. Doesn't count. Doesn't count. This was just fictitious futures. You could not deposit XTZ. You could not withdraw XTZ. This was limited supply, insulated on one exchange. Did not deal with the project wasn't even live yet. Did not deal with real supply and demand dynamics and so on and so forth, right? So technically, with real supply of XTZ on the market and real price discovery, we have not had one single market cycle yet with XTZ. And so it's doing what new coins do, is they dump and they dump and they continue to dump. And why does that happen? Because people who participated in the ICO, a lot of them will either sell for a quick flip, or they get scared that it goes close to ICO price or below ICO price, so they start selling off. Maybe you got whales trying to offset other stuff, selling off. You have an inflation rate with any coins, whether it's a proof of work coin where you're mining it, or whether it's a proof of stake coin. There's still inflation of new coins being created. And when the ecosystem hasn't evolved, that's selling pressure, right? And why is it selling pressure? Because for the most part, depending on your jurisdiction, people have to pay tax on that XTZ, right? Well, for myself, any XTZ that I'm accumulating in it, I'd rather just pay tax out of the fiat and just wait for higher prices. So I'm not. I think the bonus ICO price, I think, was like 42 cents for the bonus. I got in on the bonus. Mind you, I've probably got 12 times more Tezos now than I even bought in the ICO. Because for me, an ICO is like, there's just no damn guarantee you're ever going to see your coins, right? Um, you give money for an ICO, you don't know when you're going to see your coins or if you're going to see your coins, if it's actually going to succeed in launching, right? When you have things on the market and price discovery and a live network, suddenly that risk of never seeing your coins or whatever changes. And it was a bumpy ride. They had to do KYC. That was kind of annoying. They had a big infighting with the foundation and so on and so forth. So that was annoying. But if we do break down and hit the 20 cent mark or whatever, I'm gonna double my position, my long-term holdings, and I'm just gonna bake. That's it, right? And I think the regular ICO price is like 50 cents, so it's below the regular ICO price right now. So anyways, if I'm going to accumulate anything, I want, to me, there's like no better thing to accumulate than something that just self-accumulates on a hardware wallet, right? I don't have to run nodes. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So I'm in it for the long haul. So this is not my first rodeo. Not the first time I've taken on big risk. I mean, 2015, even though I didn't have a lot of money, it was a big risk. I dedicated everything. I was putting all my time and energy, working 14 hours a day, and having all my savings in Bitcoin. Everything I was making that year was in Bitcoin. I mean, and Bitcoin was at the lows, and market sentiment was the lowest, and it was complete crap. And that was a big risk, Guess what? If Bitcoin had failed and gone to zero, and if the whole thing just turned into be like a fiction, then everything I'd worked for that year, all my sweat equity that I'd put into Bitcoin in 2015 would have been a loss, a complete loss, right? So crypto is risky. Crypto is risky. Would I do that now if I didn't start then? Yeah, I think I would. I think I would dedicate myself to working as much as I could in crypto and stuff. I think I would. Now I feel obviously prices are higher, but fundamentals seem a little bit more certain, even though everyone's going on about how everything is dying. Come on, biggest exchanges in the world are listing Bitcoin. We never even dreamed that was possible in 2014. Right? What I spend 14 hours a day on, it was a lot of it was research, right? I was still really learning a lot. So a lot of it was just researching different coins, different projects. The tech was all new. The tech was, it was all new, and just also researching experiment, getting set up, security, everything. Just a lot of time putting into figuring out the crypto game, trading, playing around with different trading strategies, all that stuff, right? Scalping, learning, I was teaching myself how to scalp, technical analysis, just lots and lots of hours of just learning trading, doing trading, and researching and figuring out the tech, downloading strange wallets, figuring out staking wallets and just all that kind of stuff, right? When you're new, there's a lot of energy that has to be put into figuring stuff out. I definitely got scammed. I got scammed mostly in 2014. I wisened up in 2015, and I didn't really get scammed after 2014. 2014 is where I really, I took a bunch of hits as my rite of passage, but then I wisened up and I was like, you know what? I'm not getting scammed anymore. To hell with that. So I really did a lot of due diligence and anything, so on and so forth, right? So, and 2014 was a great lesson for me in getting scammed, right? And I almost quit I almost quit in 2014 because of getting scammed several times and losing thousands of dollars getting scammed. You feel like quitting because that was the only money I had at the time, and I stuck with it. Nothing in crypto was an easy process. Even holding for multiple years, holding Bitcoin for multiple years, and all that. Like all of that, everything's a bumpy road, right? Everything's a bumpy road. It looks easy in hindsight, but it never really is. It's always easier said than done. So this is crypto. It's risky, right? It's risky. There are risks. But one thing that they don't talk about with risks is that with big risk also comes big reward. And I'll tell you, I don't think I could have made the money that I made in crypto and anything else in such a short period of time, right? So big risks also come with big rewards. And a lot of people didn't want to take the risk in 2015. A lot of people thought it was crap. You know, they're like, it's a Ponzi, it's crap. Wow, why, shut up. Talking to friends and family about Bitcoin, shut up. We don't want to hear it anymore. You're a fanatic. You're obsessed. I'm just trying to take you along for the ride. That's all. Right? That's all. And ironically, a lot of those same people that told me shut up did actually literally called me up in December. It's like, okay, is Bitcoin taking over the world now? Should I join? I was like, no. Please don't. And if you did, you didn't hear it from me. Anyways. But now history repeats. Now we're at the lows. And everyone's like, it's a scam. It's dying. Death spiral. Ooh, we hate it. See, we told you so. Blah, blah. Whatever. Same shit. Same shit, different story, different pile, right? So, it's that's the nature of the game. This is the nature of crypto. But I'll tell you one thing. You have to have a few things in order to survive in this game. You have to have control of your emotions, right? You need to have patience. Yeah, you need guts of steel, right? You need perseverance and guts of steel, and you need vision. Like I said yesterday, you need vision. That crypto is it's community oriented, right? It is currency for online communities, right? So you need to really, vision allows you to look at the bigger picture. It's like, imagine a startup. You like any like, this is the business cycle for anything. Even if you're an investor in an early startup, or you start your own business. Usually they say new businesses don't make money for like the first few years and so on and so forth. Like if you look at any really big successful entrepreneurs, if you look at any successful entrepreneurs, like I like the show Shark Tank. I like watching stuff like Shark Tank. I like seeing investment deals and hearing the story of, billionaire entrepreneurs or whatnot. And like most of these cats started their businesses in their garage, in their basement. They were literally eating ramen noodles. They weren't seeing any money whatsoever. And then they end up with like multi-$100 million exits when their businesses take off, right? Even like the early internet, right? You look at the people who started businesses in the early internet when it was fringe and you just had like basic chat features and stuff like that. And like people had to have vision and build stuff around that, right? And it took vision, because guess what? Vision is what builds things, right? Imagination and having vision and goals of the future is what builds things in society. This is the way humans work, right? You have an idea, you think it's a good idea, Jeff Bezos packing boxes for Amazon. Look at his early office setup for Amazon, right? Just a little website, rinky-dink website. Now basically the backbone of the U.S. economy right now, right? Like a giant, a behemoth of a company right now. I mean, it's astronomical, right? And doesn't necessarily mean that just because you put in patience and have vision that you're going to succeed, because a lot of entrepreneurs have to fail multiple times, right? I took multiple stabs at smaller businesses in the past that failed, right? But the one thing that distinguishes success from failure is that people who succeed tend to be the stubborn ones who keep trying, right? And they make sacrifices. You have to make sacrifices. You know, in 2015, 2016, Crypto Hustle, the reason why I took the brand Crypto Hustle is because that's all I was doing. So, you know, I was in a remote location. I got out of the city. I left hanging out with my friends. All my other hobbies and stuff. I used to do martial arts a lot. I put that aside. I put aside hanging out. I put aside partying. I put aside trips. I put aside any of that stuff. You know, there was like family vacations. You know, people would come over for family vacations and stuff. Or in summer, everyone's enjoying their summer and stuff. And, you know, where's Rocky? Oh, he's in his office working. You know, he's working away. Wow, does he ever stop? No, he doesn't. Why doesn't he ever stop? Because he has vision and determination. He has goals. He has goals. And he basically made it, like, I make a pact with myself years ago. Like, you know, when I started this crypto journey, I said, hell or high water, I don't give a crap what I have to do. As long as I'm doing it ethically, I am going to make whatever sacrifices I need to make until I hit my goals, right? I also had a fire under my butt. You know, my parents couldn't retire. My parents are poor, right? Came from a poor family, so on and so forth. You know, my stepdad's roofing at the age of 67, right? And, you know, I came to a point of like, for me not to succeed is actually kind of being selfish because I'm not able to help other people around me, right? Other people are suffering as a result of me just like wasting time and whatever. So I had motivations to really put everything into it. And I obviously chose an industry that I believed in, right? You know, decentralized money, decentralized finance. I think that there's a lot of issues, a lot of problems in the world right now. And even though there's a lot of scams and a lot of problems and a lot of stuff in crypto, and even though people are really negative about crypto in general, it's a very noble cause, right? The cause of Bitcoin and the roots of Bitcoin is a revolution. This is the first time in history we've had a financial system that was decentralized, right? With technology that couldn't be shut down, so on and so forth, right? That's worth something to me. So I want to be involved in an industry that actually had those higher values and ideals, right? I didn't want to just try to make money, you know, on whatever, oil or something, you know, something that I didn't feel would really be good for the overall bigger picture, right? And so I see a lot of the world's problems linked directly to the debt bubble, the financial system that we have, so on and so forth, right? And obviously it's ironic that the financial system's getting involved in crypto. But I want to get involved in industry. Is industry changing? Yes. You know, has the mainstream kind of taken us away from the original vision of Bitcoin and crypto from the early days a bit? Yes. Can I sometimes get a little bit cynical about crypto and stuff because of all the greed and the blatant scams and so on and so forth? Sure, right? That comes with the territory of surviving, right? You have to have a pinch of cynicism. But to me, it's as noble a cause as the internet. You know, for all the woes of the internet, for all the problems that we have with the internet, it has literally changed our society, and it has given more power to individuals. And I believe that we need more decentralization. So the internet is decentralized information. Information is a commodity. You know, back in the day, you had to go through a newspaper or a TV TV station or a major publisher or whatever. You had to go through the gatekeepers to get a message out. Now on the internet, you don't need anyone's permission. You could become an influencer. You could get a big following. You can make your own website. You don't need anyone's permission. You know, you get based on the merit of the information of what you're putting out, right? And there's always going to be a niche for everything. Even if one puts out a bunch of crap, there's always going to be a niche for it, type of thing. But and there's a lot of stuff that I disagree with and people's opinions on the internet. I'm just happy that they have the right to share those, you know, to share that information, right? It's, if we're living in a global world, it's also it's also brought the global community together, right? It's made us more of a global community. People can communicate with each other from around the world. A lot of those barriers and obstacles, that and obviously being able to fly and travel, right? And so crypto is very global. It fits into that global paradigm, right? Crypto communities are very global. They're not just based on any one geographic location or another. And sometimes when you have people going through suffering on another part of the world, like Venezuela, you can end up with solidarity with those members of the crypto community, right? And being able to try to use crypto to help people out and so on and so forth, right? Anyways, long-winded rant. I like to kind of go on these bigger picture, look at the bigger picture, the bigger vision when everything seems so bleak and in the gutter, right? I was so cynical and almost kind of like bitter in the highs because it's just pure greed and euphoria and everything's so pumped up. You just didn't know what to touch, It's like, oh, I don't want to touch any of this. It's gross. Can't buy something that's up 50,000%. It's gross. But now that market sentiment is low, is in the gutter, and everyone hates crypto, and I'm not jumping in on that bandwagon. I'm not going to sit here and start trying to kick crypto while it's down and fuel that negative bearish market sentiment. I'm going to do the opposite like I always do, right? So now that we're in the gutter and prices are low and things seem bleak and it's so despair and this and that, now I'm thinking of the bigger picture. Now I'm thinking about the original reasons why I got into crypto and why I enjoy it, the good things, the positive things about the industry, right? We always need a counterbalance. For every seller, there's a buyer. For every buyer, there's a seller, right? It's the yin and yang of the markets. We're just experiencing perfect equilibrium right now. We had extreme greed. Now we have extreme fear. We had extreme highs. Now we have extreme lows. The annoying things are people saying BTC has died. Are you okay? Yeah, I've had a few of those questions. Are you okay? I'm like, sure, I'm fine. I'm fine. This is not my first rodeo in crypto. So anyways, I think it's important. So do the opposite of the herd. You wanna do well in this game. If anything is out of balance, eventually the markets and crypto, they try to find a point of equilibrium. Anytime there's a severe disbalance on the upside or the downside, it's gotta come to a point of equilibrium, right? The biggest mistake people made at the highs is they just kept thinking it was going to keep going up. They didn't recognize that going up straight vertical was dangerous, and a time to be very, very cautious, and a time to curb the enthusiasm on crypto, right? And now we're in the opposite. Now we're going into extreme lows. Could it go lower? Sure it can, right? But you just look how low market sentiment is, how everyone's trying to kick crypto while it's down. The media's getting in on it. The armchair economists who have been calling Bitcoin a scam since it was $50, all that stuff, they're there. This is a time to be positive. This is the time to be a contrarian. This is a time to think about the bigger picture, the bigger vision, to understand why it is you're here, what your goals are in crypto. Maybe it's also time to build some businesses around it, right? There's opportunity. There's in my opinion, there's hidden opportunity. Even though nothing's ever guaranteed in life in general, nothing's guaranteed. There's no guarantee that we wake up the next day, right? There's no guarantee. We don't know how long we live for, and we don't know the guarantees of the markets and nothing like that, right? But life is risky, right? But with risk comes reward, and so this is the period of time where I look at the bigger picture, I focus on the bigger vision, and I accumulate my favorite stuff. And lower prices just means I get to accumulate more of it. And obviously, at this point, I'm being a little bit more conservative with what I have left in my dry powder in case we do get new lows. So I have a tranche that's left. And I've been pacing myself all year and obviously going a bit harder as prices breaking down and going low and market sentiment going low. So obviously I've been going a bit harder. I've been doing the be greedy while other people are scared, right? But that's not That's not always easy. So one also needs to pace themselves even in that. And that's it. I'm planting seeds. I'm planting seeds for the next cycle. All right, folks, we're going to end it there. I went over an hour. As of tomorrow and Friday, I know I've been going on these long-winded kind of bigger picture philosophical chats on crypto in general. There's a method to my madness. I know how difficult things can get when prices are low, for market sentiment in general. So I'm being a contrarian. I'm bucking against all of that. And now I'm going into the bigger picture, the vision, the philosophy, and stuff like that. Because I think that's important. It's important to think about those goals and the psychological stuff. Because honestly, the biggest challenge in all of this isn't just buying low and selling high and any of that stuff. That's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is the emotions in crypto, right? In the markets. That's the biggest challenge, right? It's the emotions. And we can definitely see it. You can taste it. You see it in the market, right? There's a lot of despair right now in the market, right? But a lot of those folks who are despairing here at the lows were very, very bullish at the highs, right? So this is the nature of the game, and that's why I'm focusing on the bigger picture right now and focusing more on the philosophical element, the vision of crypto. You know, why are we even in this industry to begin with, right? And it's up to us. We're the participants. There's no CEO of Bitcoin to call up to, it's us. It's all on us. It's our coin. It's our crypto, right? We are the a part of the industry. We're not just necessarily just watching it happen. We're participants in it. Even if you're just trading or whatever, you're providing liquidity, you're still a participant in it. You're helping shape the story. You're helping shape history, right? In the bigger picture, right? All that to say, moving on for Thursday and Friday, we're going to keep things, just for folks who don't want to hear the philosophical rants, we're going to keep things back to the markets. We're just going to focus on altcoins and coins and stuff like that. We'll do some Q&A, and we'll maybe we might have a shorter update. So, but each week, we'll at least have a good rant day while the prices are low. If the prices go really, really high and we go in a bull trend, then maybe I don't need to go off on the rant. So we'll have a different rant. We'll have a different rant about bull trends. Right? There's always a rant for another day. So that's it for now. We'll end it there. Take care, folks. Cheers.